Okay, so welcome everyone. It's lovely to have you on board in this first WoW of the year. It's a very special WoW because we're actually having a shared ATTRACTISS modernAKIS, which you might know are the two projects that work together, sibling projects, giving you and organizing all these events for you. So as you can see, today we have a really interesting topic and all our speakers are already here. So you'll eventually see them wave as I introduce themselves. But today we wanted to start talking about the power of the many, as in there's so many of us, but sometimes we can meet in person and everything, but the challenge is digital spaces, which have become this amazing space where, like today, we can have people from all over Europe talking to each other, but how do we make them work in a way that is long-term? So to do that, today we have a really, really interesting sort of like lineup for you. We have Mr. Bill Daniels, who I cannot see at the moment, but I'm assuming he's waving. He's an absolute expert in everything that has to do with effectively working together, both in the physical and in the digital realm in the Netherlands. Then we're going to be talking a little bit about the AKIS Forum, which is a space that we've created so that you can connect with other people online, ask questions, do everything in an asynchronous way. That means it's a fancy word just to say like on your own time. So Maria is going to be talking a little bit about that. Then Peter is going to be talking a little bit about how he uses a forum or how he expects to use a forum, just to give you an idea of what the potential is. And finally, we're going to have Abby Morden, who is coming all the way from Southern Scotland, who's an absolute expert in knowledge exchange and who has created a really interesting community that connects both in person and online and allows that connection to continue through the year. But before doing all that, I'm actually going to bring over the lead in our modernAKIS project, Dora Miron, who's, again, an absolute expert on all those things, and who's going to be giving you a little bit of a feel of how we ended up with this series of webinars, and then talk a little bit more about how can we connect online and what the value of this kind of events is. Dora, I'm going to give you the floor by giving you this slide, and then I'll follow your instructions.
Thank you very much, Anna. Maybe you could stop sharing the slide, because I will basically tell our origin story, because some of you potentially might have the same challenge as we had before there were the WoW events. So we came into this 2022 with modernAKIS, starting with the topic of networking events a year earlier than ATTRACTISS. And in 2022, when we came together for the first time with the AKIS coordination bodies, there was an uncertainty what this AKIS is and what should be achieved with it, and also how to communicate about it. How do we show the value of a systemic approach? Because it's such a big topic. How do we translate that in our own language? How do we handle this so that our communities know that it has value, and how can we show value to them? So this was the challenge we had in 2022, and we started thinking about, and in 2023, the first conclusion we draw in our project was to say that we need to show value. We don't need to talk about value, but we need to show value. And we need to show value not by the project, but we need to show value by the practitioners and those who did it and created the real value in real life and had the bitter lessons and also the good successes, because the real success in something novel doesn't come without a few hits, a few challenges, a few barriers. So that was basically the idea, that we said our key points are, only by practitioners, only by people who really did it themselves, who were on the front. Let's talk this way. And we thought about an online format. We didn't know if this will work, and how potentially to put together a community and exchange between these persons. And I'm very happy to report that the first event took place in 2023. It was November. We were quite late in announcing it, so it was about 10 days before the event. And I thought, great, if we get 30 people and 15 will come, I'm a full success. We had 543 registrations and 370 attendance. And I was scared, to be honest with you. We didn't have the infrastructure. We had not the plan on how to deal with this kind of people. We had no concept and no idea how to network 300 people online in 1.5 hours. It was completely beyond what I could grasp. And fortunately, it was 3 days before the event, so I didn't have time to think, because I would have completely panicked. So what we tried to do is we said, okay, each speaker does 15 minutes, which is 45 minutes, which is the half of the event. And for the other half of the event, we opened this up to the communities. We knew that it would be impossible for us to manage breakout rooms. We don't have that much people in the many people in the project to be able to manage that. And we said, let all the people be together and pray, because maybe something good will happen. And it was indeed a very good event. It was unexpected, to be honest with you. And there was a very lively discussion. And one of the people who were in that event, Paul Daniels, we learned about Paul and got into contact with Paul through these WoW events which we have. So that's why we continued with the community, and we focused specifically on showing either around one topic, one very specific topic, like let's say, for example, some agroecological measures in AKIS. So we brought together a policymaker who designed the policy. We brought together people who do the advice, and we brought in the same presentation farmers who applied the measure on their farm and have seen the results. So we always kept the focus on practice and what happens into practice if you do something at policy level. That was our way of showing value. So always the practitioners, always those who were on the front, and always what does it mean in practice if you take some systemic measure. That is the proposition of this event, to show value and show that you can really do something with an abstract concept, even if you don't fully and theoretically completely understand the abstract concept. You need just to understand how it works for you. Then we ran with about 250, 300 people in 2024, the whole year. And we did not yet have a concept on how can we offer these people who come and are interested and participate, how can we also offer them another exchange medium where they can stay in contact, because they are a community, but we cannot manage through the means of the digital webinars the number of people, because we are not able to manage the breakout rooms. We don't have the resources. So we started discussing with ATTRACTISS and with the colleagues from the Athens University, can we put a forum in place where we give the people within the event the possibility to exchange, because there is so much knowledge, there is so much interest, but we always closed after 1.5 hours. In 2025, we did two things. We basically showed how we could do this together with ATTRACTISS. We said that we will focus on innovation and AKIS, and we merged the event. And we started developing this forum where we hope we can link it into the live events and support the community in this exchange and harness the live format for the community. And with today, if I'm correct, Peter and Marie, we start the next step in this journey and origin story of these events. And we are now trying to see, can we, and how does it work, and how successful is it, to bring this community together, to harness all of our knowledge, intelligence, and willingness to cooperate, to make practice for us a little better, to not have the same barriers 20 times, maybe just have them 10 times, because the other 10 times we have saved them by cooperating and collaborating. So Anna, this was what I wanted to say. Maybe now you can introduce the WoW events, but I thought maybe a bit of a backstory might be interesting, how you sometimes stumble in a success without knowing what you do. And that's me.
Now that's absolutely perfect. So thanks, Dora, for that, because it helps frame it, but also gives a few really good nuggets about how to make effective online events, just like certain things. Recognize the number of people that you're going to have before you start planning what you're going to do, which is really, it sounds silly, but everything that Dora was saying, I was sort of like, I see Abby there, sort of like moving her head. Sometimes you organize a super cool event for 20 people, all of a sudden you have 100. How do you pivot? You pivot just by recognizing what people might want. And what people want is that you respect their time. So know what they're doing, know why they're coming, make sure that you provide them with something to do. And a little bit like Paul was saying, at least in this community, what we've seen, especially with farmers, is make it practical. Farmers are there to just learn something that they can implement. So make sure that you always know your audience and make it happen. I'm just going to show super shortly for you to have an idea of what you can expect from the different WOWs, which are happening every month. We have at least one. It will be just the one every month. And we alternate. So sometimes you will have an ATTRACTISS one, sometimes you will have a modernAKIS one. And the whole idea is that both these projects focus on slightly different aspects of how we create a knowledge flow across agriculture, across Europe, across regions, across wherever you want. So you can take the ideas and adapt them to your geography, if you will, or your group of interest. But the whole idea is to try to find tools to make change happen, innovation happen on the ground. And that means that sometimes you have to focus on what's happening on the ground, and that's where ATTRACTISS has their niche. We focus on bottom-up, on-farm support and ideas. But you also need to be able to change the system to be able to actually empower all these people on the ground. And that's where modernAKIS comes in, focusing on more holistic approaches, thinking more about the environment. And so if you want to know how to influence your environment, those are for you as well. So as you see, 1 month you will have very sort of like practical on the ground idea. The following month you will have a more systems-wide approach, how you can influence the system to make things happen. And we hope that by giving you those both sides of the story, you will be fully prepared to start exploring how to make change and how to make innovation happen on the ground for you. Having said all that, I think it's time to hear from Paul now. Paul, I will let you introduce yourself directly, but on a more sort of like just easy, chill kind of presentation. I just want to say that Paul is just one of those people that you always want by your side, because he will be critical without being devastating. So it's best of two worlds. He will let you know where you can find something that you can improve, and will do so laughing and making you feel like there's space for growth rather than torture. So that's always amazing. And so you can imagine how useful that is when you have someone that's helping change happen on the ground and with farmers. So I'll give the floor to Paul. Paul, take over and walk us through your presentation today.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Thank you all. Thank you, modernAKIS and ATTRACTISS. Been joining you already for a couple of years, while I am in the Netherlands, the project manager and the secretary general of the Vereniging Agrarische Bedrijfsadviseurs, or the Association of Farm and Business Advisors. I will stay on topic today. The digital world is awaiting us, and what's in it for us, but what do we have to think about also to implement it in a systemic way in our daily lives. By this, we actually have had some experience in the last couple of years by setting up study meetings and workshops that were about artificial intelligence. We have set up an e-learning to master advisory report writing. We have seen a lot of online webinars nowadays is also upcoming, but everything in the digital world is new and of course promising. But in a systemic way, we always have to question ourselves what's happening behind the screens. And that's what I want to try and put in focus in my version of harnessing the power of the many and their exchange in the digital space. And you see in my slide below, I'm going to a little bit differ in the order of things. I'm going to start with the power of the many, then go to their exchange, then go to digital space, and then finish with harnessing, which is a very interesting verb. Next slide, then I can open up with power of the many. In the Netherlands, the Dutch AKIS is in a quite fragmented landscape that has become the way because of we 30 years ago already went from public advisory services to private advisory services, which has its pros and which has its cons. I myself have 35 years experience in the world of agricultural and advice and bringing products also to the farmers, but especially later focusing on really advice and independent advice. I was born in 1968, already 58 years old now, Generation X, the generation that saw the world change from analog to digital. And with it, a lot came to us. In the Netherlands, I focused it here as Wild West to accredited permanent education system, because when you go to a private system, then actually everybody can call themselves advisor, and then we have to start watching out. An advisor has to, of course, obey the rules of lifelong learning. And learning is teaching is learning. In this, I want to say that the teacher can be in front of the class, but if he doesn't stay in front of all the actual things happening in real time, then the learning eventually is not worth anything anymore. He is not going to be a good teacher. So learning is teaching, and again, learning. This is a process. It goes on and on and on. Please, next slide. But knowledge and skills have to flow freely. They have to flow from learning, teacher, learning, etc., but also from practice to public. From technical experience, the farmer knows best, mostly about his soil and about his cattle. But for example, he is not an entrepreneur. And then an advisor should focus on entrepreneurship to help the farmer best. If a farmer does not know a lot about the soil, he is a newcomer, he was never a farmer, but he anyway wants to start farming, then he needs an advisor that helps him in the technical forms. So knowledge, skills, technical versus entrepreneurial, research and practice should go hand in hand in the world of learning and teaching. And we have to really recognize that we are in an extremely complex world. And then with complex, a lot of people say, ha, but now we have artificial intelligence, and that's going to help us. Human versus artificial intelligence. And then we go more and more to the digital focus, so that we are in this topic of the WoW. Because in both, systemical thinking is essential. We have to review the whole thing that is happening around us. So we can be very enthusiastic about a certain development, but then we have to ask ourselves, is it really going to bring everything that we think it's going to bring? Next slide, please. So learning in the AKIS system, and I put between the hooks, as we say it in the Netherlands, and from nature, because AKIS is part of nature, like farming is part of nature. So the traditional ways of learning is, of course, a study meeting, a workshop, education, going to a course, and often peer-to-peer, people with people. But what did we see in the times of COVID? What did happen in those times? We started missing each other incredibly much, because everything was suddenly focused on only having a screen between us. And how happy we were after this 2-3 very strange years that we again could be in a classroom together, peer-to-peer learning. So in this, you see that communication between people is more than only verbal, is more than only words. It's about gestures, it's about feelings, it's about sensitivity. That makes up the full scale of communication. It's already said in communication science that about 7% is verbal, 30% is tone of voice, 55% is about body language. So all this kind of things, you should reckon that it's not only information that you share in words, and then you should immediately start asking questions about AI, because that is firmly based on words, first of all. Of course, at this moment in time, science also knows that we, from nature, understand approximately 8 to 10%. That's the human capacity of understanding nature, 8 to 10%. Humanity has to learn artificial intelligence, how it all works. The data of artificial intelligence initially comes from people. And yes, artificial intelligence can make a lot more connections between everything, but the data that we know about nature is 8 to 10%. So does AI come with all the questions? We will see. Again, systemic solutions are the only solutions that count on the farm level. Theoretical results, big research reports, doesn't per se have to be able to help a farmer. We should learn also from what the farmer wants. Initially, it's all about data. Data, 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 data. And what do we see in the world of data at this moment in time? Exponential growth. Now, we're going to focus on the harnessing. The harnessing is going to be very important, because with data also comes false data, the fake news that is also going around and around in the digital world. We have to be very careful for that, because harnessing data is about opportunities, but also about threats. The English verb, as far as I know, to harness, can be explained as to use, but it can also be explained as to control, because a harness in medieval times was the metal armor of a knight, which protected him by controlling the environment. The enormous power that artificial intelligence holds should also be becoming aware in our world that this is going to be a change that might be even bigger than the invention of the steam engine 200 years ago, starting industrialization and the splitting of the atom. AI can be a lot more impactful to our society, and whether it's going to be good or bad, that's initially to mankind to take care of that. So questions to ask, whether and how we are going to harness digital world and AI learnings is what is systemical truth and what is not. What is not applicable for e-learning? For example, if you have demonstrations nowadays, Well, I want to see the first AI that is going to do a demonstration on the field on an acre. Maybe the apparatuses on the machinery is AI guided, but the demonstration will still be at the hands of the farmer. And what are the systemical consequences? So not only, hurrah, this is going to be easier or cheaper. What are the consequences in the food nutrition? What are the consequences in the market? What are the consequences on the income of the farmer? How is the consumer going to react? And how is, for example, retail going to react? All this is the systemic world that we're in, and we have to take that in view as well. Next slide. Because for example, we have had a lot of advisors nowadays being very, very, very enthusiastic about ChatGPT because it makes their lives easier. But the question is it going also make their way of advising and putting their advice in words? Yeah, it's easier, but is it also going to be correct? We have seen that already, and yeah. Often when we want it easy, it actually is based on the fact that we want to be lazy. And that's most of the time not the best way to go into the future. So what do we know? Reflections on how we learn, we humans, not the machinery around us. If we embrace more e-learning and AI, then we should really start thinking about what other effects it has on our world and whether that is sustainable or not. Please, next slide. Then I will disseminate on the points that oh, this is not the right slide. Should go 2 slides further. One more. Oh, no. Then I will yes, this one. Thank you very much. Energy and raw materials. At this moment, we see an exponential growth, not only about energy use. And in the Netherlands, this is really a big topic because the Netherlands is one of the places where the transatlantic cables are coming in. And nowadays, we see here in an already overpopulated country with a big use in energy, that the server parks are being built by a choice whether we are going to make a new living area or a server park. The amount of energy that goes into data processing is staggering, going up. And in 2025, we will see this line even going to about a couple of months compute doubling. It goes faster and faster. This is this exponential growth. I have a son that is in tech and electrical engineering, and he is complaining at this moment that the parts of a computer that he is constantly building are getting more and more expensive. That is the right graph that you see. That is the internal components for memory. That is at this moment, because of the shortage in raw materials, it's going up like crazy. So computers are going to go more and more expensive. Next slide, please. AI. What do we want it for? It's a very good question, because that is the same question is, when is enough enough? We have so much stuff around us, and watch out with the internet, because without knowing nowadays, we are actually feeding AI. AI is already for years being used by the big tech companies, that with our CAPTCHA movements, they process how a human is sitting behind a laptop. So the right picture says it all. Beware what you do with internet. It's something that we are all addicted to, but beware, because it's going faster and faster, but it also has bigger and bigger consequences also in our learning capacity. There have been research already in certain universities that people that are hooked on using AI, they don't get more clever. They don't teach themselves certain skills that they need as humans. Next slide, please. Food for thought. you can see the both pictures. We eat because our food that we eat is our energy. So what are we going to do if we keep on eating, but our energy is going to be put in only things in the computer and not movements? We are playing with our health in this, but we are also causing AI to consume more and more energy. So by our less energy, something else is going to use up more energy. And our energy, we are all working in agriculture, I believe. That's food. So there is some balance here that has to be taken into consideration if you want to approach it in a systemic view, whether you're going to choose for e-learnings and digital and AI, or peer-to-peer and learn in practice. Next slide, please. I always like to trigger people think about what is happening actually, and maybe take it a little bit to a philosophical level. The human interface, we are all humans, and we're talking about AI. And then the last picture shows, of course, the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo's beautiful painting on in Rome, in the Vatican City. And the right picture is actually happening now. We are transferring our being into a new being. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. And what are we doing now? And let's question ourselves, are we gods? Next picture. No, this is, yes, thank you. That is the closing remark. At this moment in time, let's imagine we created a perfect AI with all the data in the world, and we ask this AI, honestly, what should we do to create a sustainable future for our children? Then I'm pretty sure that the AI will say, mankind, humanity, has to start making a change in ourselves, not by ruling the world around us, but we have to change. Humans learn best from humans. That's our experience in the last couple of years in this world that sees AI more and more, and also webinars and e-learnings. So let that be our strength, but let's not forget about our weaknesses. That's my presentation. I hope I did not cross the line too far in time. Questions?
We have some interesting comments as well, sort of like in the chat relating to everything that you're saying. I especially like in general, Eugenia has been saying a few things around sort of like the importance of not taking AI for granted and the importance of considering that actually a person should be checking it. Because as she says, you don't get the same answer twice. So that's something to consider. And also how it's sort of like affecting our brains in a way.
Yeah, of course, with Evgenia, I have had an endless discussions also in Hungary recently. Yes, humans have to always understand that what they feed AI is going to learn. Yeah. So maybe it's not only double checking it with one other person. No, I think that we all have to be involved and start understanding that AI is able to help us. But it's not going to help us when we feed it the stuff that we at this moment as humans actually apply in our living world, which is we want it easy, we want it cheap, we want it fast, we want it entertained. Yeah, I'm sorry, but when is enough enough?
Yep. I love the fact that you sort of like start framing it like this for everything that we're going to be talking about today, because if we lose that human component, most of these things fall through the sites. And it's very important that we always remember these are tools, people. These are things that we should be in charge of, not the other way around. and explore how they can help us, but not
True.
necessarily how can they dominate us. So the whole idea of your harnessing, I thought, was really interesting, and a really interesting way of thinking about it, because sometimes it feels like it's getting bigger than ourselves, but at the end of the day, it is a human creation, not the other way around. So
If we don't let it get bigger than ourselves.
yes, exactly. So I love the fact that you mentioned that, because I think it's a perfect way to discuss everything that we're going to be discussing today later on around the forum and around the tools that that we've been using, because at the end of the day, they should be at our service. And the whole point, I think, as I want to get the name right, as Yassine mentions, we need to make sure that it's in our service and not something that can end up having apocalyptic approaches.
Exactly, but it's in our hands. It is people are very easily tempted, but temptations are not good. We all know it.
No, especially in the north of the Netherlands.
Yes, especially from the Netherlands, with the inventors of capitalism. Oh.
It's your fault, that Paul. Good to know.
Yeah, but we didn't perfect it. The Americans perfected it.
So thank you so much, Paul, for giving us this first sort of like approach about it. So as we mentioned today, things that I want to be picking up through conversation, Dora has already highlighted the importance of actually bringing people to the fore, making sure that we're answering these questions. From your conversation, I thought that that quote that you said, that learning is teaching, is probably going to be key in this whole discussion around AI, because at the end of the day, being, doing, standing in front of people is something that's really important if we're going to be using technology, and just keeping an eye on technology being at our service and not the other way around.
And applicable
And
technology.
applicable.
So science
important.
should be applicable. If it's science, just science, then sorry. Then it can be scaled. I hope to have inspired you and put some questions in your head that you have to answer for yourself. That's the main topic.
Seeing from the chat, I think that you've inspired a few of us, and it's going to be probably a conversation that doesn't end here. But Marie, are you going to be talking about a tool that we can start using as humans to actually connect and try to create the spaces?
Yeah, thanks you, Anna,
so much,
and
Paul.
thank you, Paul. Yeah, thanks for this very interesting introduction. Now let's go into a very easy to use and safe place that we created in ATTRACTISS. So it's the forum that I will just show you afterwards. I will make some explanation about what the forum is about, and then I will show you some key using of the forum. So I'm Marie Boitelet from the Chamber of Agriculture in Occitanie, in the southwest of France. And with Anna, we are in charge of developing that AKIS forum. So as it said, it's a safe place where multi-actor and ISS key actor can learn from each other and exchange. As you said, Paul, the idea of that tool, it's a tool, and we need people to feed the tool, to exchange and to share their experience, their knowledge and their tools and methods. So it's really like supporting innovation services, but we need human to go into the forum actually and feed it. So who can be a member of that forum? This forum is an online web page. It's very easy to use, and the idea that every actor who are interested in innovation supporting, it can be management authorities, of course, AKIS organization, ISS, so Innovation Support Services, AKIS actors. We also thought about the education sector, researcher, newcomers, advisor, project manager, farmers. I mean, anyone who would like to exchange at the EU level about how to innovate on a multi-actor approach and an interactive innovation process is very welcome to join into this forum. It's really easy to join, so I will send you the link to register to the forum. We only need your name, your country, what kind of AKIS actor you are. You can be, I mean, a farmer, advisor, a researcher, just to better understand what's your background and what kind of information and content you can share into the forum. You need an email and a password, and then you part of the forum. So it's like take you 5 minutes. the idea is to make your account so you can also propose some content as we see afterwards. So that's the link, which is on my slide. And I will just put you this link into the chat. So if you want to register while I am talking, that's really fine. Thank you.
I think that, sorry, go.
Tell me.
I was just going to say that I put the link.
Ah, great. Thanks, Anna. Quicker than me. So how you can use the forum, and definitely what kind of content you can find on the forum. So the first idea of that forum was to create a very easy place to use to exchange, of course, practical knowledge, but also skills, tools and methods. So everything that we will collect into the ATTRACTISS project and modernAKIS project that we can share all together is more than welcome on the forum. So we talk about model of innovation, support services, AKIS, and we put some content that explain these terms and this concept, because for some people it's quite new or not unclear. So we try to put definition and document and explanation about this concept. We also will share some best practices and practical case about how to innovate on a multi-actor approach. So in ATTRACTISS, as you must know, we will collect example of projects who are managing in Europe, in the different country of Europe, and the idea is to share the feedback and experience of this example. But of course, it's open to everybody, and other content that we would like to share is the skills. So skills, experience, tools, method that you think it's interesting to share, or if you are looking for something, you can actually ask question on the forum. So it's really a space where you can ask for help, but also share something, some good experience that you found interesting to share in the network of the AKIS platform. So of course, it's about co-creation, capacities, facilitation, how to evaluate the impact of a process, how to organize the process of innovation support services, how to coordinate projects. So there is, I mean, many subjects that we can talk about, and all of them are into the forum right now. About the topic, you can of course have like quick view about the most famous topic so far. So the forum is quite is just opening because we started the forum in November last year. But yeah, the idea is that we show the popular room. You can filter to find more easily what it is interesting for you. You can pin board your favorite post. So I mean, there is many possibilities on the forum. And more important is the small loop on the right of my slide, like what's the space. So the space, the idea of this space is to widen and connect to the EU network. So of course at the I'm thinking about EU projects that can connect through the forum, but also all the people who will participate to the ATTRACTISS and modernAKIS action can continue exchanging on the forum. So be sure that you stay connected to that network you are actually creating right now. Also a space to learn from the others, a space to ask for advice. As I said, if you have any question about innovation process, I'm sure that someone will be very happy to help you on the forum and share experiences. Space to learn and have access to knowledge. We can also share some documents, presentation, any tools that you can reuse in your own context, and a space to disseminate your work, project, and action. Also, it's a space where you can say, okay, I'm organizing, for example, some training for ISS. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and you can just applicate for the next ones. And how you can contribute. again, the idea of that forum was to have like a social network for ISS all around Europe. So you can, I will show you, you have like big topic or like they are wide thematic about innovation. And then in each topic, you will find some rooms. So it's more specific topic. And in this room, you can post and put comments. So you can create a post if you want to create a subject to discuss with each other, or you can go and see what's the post are about and react by commenting the post. I mean, as any other social media that you must know, for example, Facebook or Twitter and so on. That's quite the same idea to have reaction on the content that we will post on the forum. I mean, usual rules of a forum is to respect everyone's opinion. If I publish something, I undertake the managing of that idea and that post. So if someone asks you about the post, be sure that you can answer to the person, or just each week perhaps have a look on your post. So if there is any question or feedback about it, you can react. Be sure that you don't create something that is already existing on the forum. We are actually creating the content of the forum right now. So there is so many subject and topic that we didn't even think about so far. So you're more than welcome to create new content in the forum, but be sure that if there is something who looks like your topic, I mean, go into and ask your question. Perhaps people who are already in the room will be interested by your post. Before I'm showing some example of my amazing colleagues who post some content and idea, I will show you the forum. So Anna, I don't know if you're following, you can put the link in the chat. I'm trusting you.
Will
And
do.
I can, thank you. So you see the forum on my screen right now. So I register, I am on my account. So name of the forum is AKIS in Exchange, because the idea behind the forum is to make a space so the AKIS from different countries can have the space to talk to each other. So as I said, there is like big topics that we already identified. Digitalization and advice for innovation, community of practices, which is connected to the project modernAKIS, which is more about the management of ISS, the management authorities. So there will create that communities of practices. So the idea is that there are the space there online where they can exchange. We also talk about the reinforcing ISS capacities. So all of that part is about training, workshop, how to build your knowledge and capacities if you would like to support innovation, or even if you would like to train other people about supporting innovation. General topic is like not the trash part, but the part where if we don't know where to put something, we can put something there. And of course, innovation tools and methods, because in ATTRACTISS we have a big action about collecting tools and methods. So we already have, I don't know, 100 of tools and methods identified in ATTRACTISS that you can actually use if you would like to support ISS. It's tools about create new ideas. It's tools about how to make people exchange, network analysis, for example. So there is many tools already available on the AKISConnect platform, but that part in the forum can permit you to exchange about the tools and ask about it. So that's the main topic that we already have. I mean, if you have any idea, we can create even more. And each topic, if I click on the topic, there is what I call a room. So room, like the topic is the big house with that, I mean, that big subject of how to reinforce ISS capacities. And when you enter the house, you will have different room, and in the room, you will focus on one specific item of the topic. So, for example, planning a training in your area organization, if you would like to train people about innovation, or, I mean, other subjects, we have many content already like available, so you can reuse how to train the trainer. So the trainer will train people, advisor, researcher, or farmers about innovation. So you can like find a lot of specific item in each topic. And of course, if you would like to explore a room, you go into the room, you pass the door, and then you can ask questions. For example, Anna proposed something about tools to explore ideas because she's really good at that. So if you want to, I don't know, share one tool that you use, or if you have question about that, like, okay, what's the tools that you are using and what do you think about these tools and how to reuse these tools? She can like give you a lot of advice. For example, the pastel tools that we already used during a training works very well. So you find the explanation and you find the documents. So you see all the possibilities of the forum.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty all. It's not big science. It's just space where you can exchange with people with people who are quite away from you. So it's a way to keep your European network and even your national network. I mean, you can invite people from your national or regional network and just stay connected to them. Of course, for us, this forum is really connected to the in real life events. As Paul said, we need human to exchange knowledge, to exchange content, and that space, that's online space, is only interesting if people like connect at one moment directly. Like, it can be online, it can be during a training, a cross visit, an event, and the idea is that they continue that dynamic into the forum, or even start the dynamic. We can also identify some topic or item that really question people around Europe, and then we can organize, I don't know, a training or an event regarding that needs that we can identify. So it can be both way. And I just show you some example of room. So some example of some smaller room that you can go into if you're interested about the subject that they are talking about. Here we have our amazing Peter who proposed the topic of impact, because when we are creating an action and an innovation process, we are eager to create impact on the people who are the target of that action or that project. So how to create the impact, but also how to evaluate that impact. So that's a space that Peter creates, and you can talk about that with him, of course. Another space is what I said about the tools and methods. So Marlene, the project manager of ATTRACTISS, is in charge of the tools and method identification and collection and dissemination. So you can share your tools and methods through the forum if you have any. It can be a very easy tool, but interesting to share. Do not hesitate to go in the forum and share it. Here is Simona, another partner of the project, ATTRACTISS project, who talk about like how digital tools and data can transform the agriculture sector. Also, like as Paul explained very well in the introduction, there is many challenge and question now around the digital tools and the digitalization of advising and innovation in the farming sector. And the last example is about the reinforced capacities. Here is Hannah, as you see, who proposed the discussion tools to explore ideas. So if you want, with your group or your colleagues or partner in a project, if you would like to explore some new ideas and find new dynamic in the group, that kind of tools can be useful. So as you see, it's really concrete exchange and question that we ask on the forum. So I hope I inspire you with the forum. I put the link in the chat, so do not hesitate to register, to go in, have a look. If you don't want to post or to write on the forum, at least you can find content and document and knowledge that people already share that could be interesting. But you're more than welcome to participate and get engaged in the forum. And that's all for me. If you have any question, of course, do not hesitate.
Thank you so much, Marie. That was a very comprehensive visit, and I hope that, as you mentioned, that we're excited about testing it. I think that probably I mentioned it there. The AI topic seems to be gathering a lot of momentum, so we can create one. But Peter, would you like to talk a little bit about using the forum? And with the benefit of time, I'll chat myself.
I'm really happy with that. And I start with the question of Hannah. who said sometimes it's really hard to find a place how to add a comment or a topic added there. Let's come to that in the presentation, and let's see how Eelke thinks about it, because I asked him to be our to give some comments on it. What I want to say, if you lost this link to the forum, doesn't matter. You can come in from modernAKIS or you can come in from ATTRACTISS. You just you go to AKISConnect, and over there you see the forum is really nearby. Oh shit. Yeah, okay, there we are. Then you come in the forum. So it's easy to come in. That part is easy. Next part is if you want to go in a room, which room would you take? Because there is an overlap, of course, between the rooms. Reinforcing capacities, for that you need tools. So would I come in the tools, or would I come in the capacities? Well, in fact, that's not a real issue, because many rooms in the forum can be addressed in both topics. So just go in, look around, scroll around a bit, and see what could be interesting for you. If you look through the rooms, then you see the posts. You see the room text is white when you start, and that's an important thing to think of. And when you click on it, it becomes light orange, and then you see more. Because if you are in the level of rooms, you see all the rooms, but you don't see the posts that are linked to it, because here you see there are 3 posts and 1 comment, and that's what you do not have access to if you just click on read more, because then you see nothing else. But if you click somewhere else on the part of on the room part, then you come into the next level, and there you see all the same text of the room again, and then there you see the posts that are already made. For example, the tools to identify networks, and then you see network analysis, the circle of coherence, and a complete overview. You can also see a link to that in AKISConnect. You can hear, when you are on this level, you can create a new post, or you can here put your comments. So Hannah, if you want to go deeper into a specific room, you have to know that you are in the room when you see it in orange. That's an important thing. Well, then I asked Eelke to look at it as well, and he came with this question, so this was the first answer I had to give him. I want to give him the word to give some more impressions of someone who's coming completely outside from outside and just entered it and has a very short introduction in it and just started. Eelke.
Yeah, hello everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces, but also new ones. I was very active in the previous project ATTRACTISS, where I concentrated on tools for networking. And it has always been my dream to have something created like what you have done now. A place where people, professionals can meet and discuss what is keeping them busy, explore how they can get further, and all the tools. I see a lot of tools here in this forum that I developed over time, and it never has been my intention to give answers to all questions, but these tools are really tools to explore what's going on so that you can find your own questions. And if I may just jump back to the previous item of AI, what Paul has explored, I think there is also something very important for us to keep in mind, that if we start using AI just for getting all the questions, all the answers, and not thinking ourselves anymore, then it goes wrong. What we have to do is create the space, vital space, I call it, in which you can explore answers together, which are always better than what any machine can think of you. Now, but if I now go to the forum, which I was so interested in, I must honestly say that I found it difficult to find my way, because it has been put up, to my impression, from a kind of outside scheme, very logical, of course, but if I come there with my question, I get a little bit lost in where I can find the proper window, the proper room where I can find people who are struggling with the same kind of questions as I have. So probably there's still work to do. Maybe those of you who were in ATTRACTIS remember the toolbox I made in those days. And maybe for others it is interesting to get a little flashback on how that was built up. Peter, can you help me in showing it?
Yeah, I'll share the screen again and then I'll show it to everyone. One moment.
Peter, if you could
it is...
put it on the chat, because we're kind of tight for time, so I'm very aware of that. But Elke, I totally agree with you in terms of the fact that it needs fine-tuning. And so everybody coming together and helping us is amazing, because it helps us fine-tune it from the user perspective.
So what Ilke mentioned was what is already in the toolbox, complete overview of interaction tools under the room of strategies and tools to identify networks. And there you see, if you are there, you link and then you come here and you see if you are an advisor and trainer or whatever, and you can go deeper into it. And that's the background from where questions are asked. Ilke was going to give all the answers.
I wasn't giving all the answers. No, I put a lot of questions in which you can find your way. And that's what I'm missing here a little bit. And then the second remark I would like to make, well, I hear you saying, well, everybody who has tools he cannot find yet here in the toolbox is more than welcome to put them in there. There are a lot of toolboxes everywhere, in fact. Huh? So it might maybe also be helpful to add somewhere a page in which you can say, okay, there are other toolboxes as well, and if you have this kind of questions, it might be also wise to look there. I made one also, which is very easy to access. I will put it in the chat.
Okay.
It is just the website in which you can scroll around and find answers and so on. So this is how I look upon it. So I wish you very good luck with developing it further. I think it's very important, but probably there's also work to do.
Thank you, Ilke. And Hannah made another question. How can I get to the posts? In fact, in the room text, you cannot make any changes, Hannah. But in the post, you can add any post that you like. So you create just a new post. And when there is an existing post, you can add a comment, or you can add a thumb up. So that's what is easy to do. So here you put a comment, and here you say, I think this is a nice page. So then we develop further with this direction. What I wanted to show to stop it is how to add even a post, and that's quite simple. I can do it here even in a meeting. It's about the impact of the place where I made the room, and there I would like to add the poster on, wait, the room, sorry, I made the wrong, the expressions and how you make impact. And there I want to make a new post, and that's quite simple. When you prepare yourself, first make something where you put your pictures and your text ready. And when you have your text ready, you can just copy it into it. I would suggest you to put it first in a Word document or whatever, so that you can easily keep it if something goes wrong, if you push a wrong button also. But then you just put it there and you put a picture into it, and then a post is created. So it's as simple as that. That's just the starting point when you want to create a post, when you want to comment on a post. The main message I want to give is, look, if you are in the room, and then the room is light orange. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Peter, because I like it that you showed us how to do it. Sometimes it's just a theory, and I love the fact that we're sort of like getting the feedback already from Elke and getting like his tools and everything can be, we can see how things can start getting connected. So to follow on that, I was just going to say again, just to make sure that we keep on time, that we bring Abby into it now, who's going to give us, we've explored what the online events are, we've explored what AI can do, we've explored the forum, and I think that Abby is actually here to take us into other practical ways that we can use technology to create communities and leverage the power of the many, as we say. So Abby, are you around? And do you want to take over?
Great. Thanks, Anna. It's been really interesting listening into all of this. And as a practitioner myself, I might well get on the forum and encourage other farm advisors and facilitators to do the same. I'm just going to see if my my screen sharing works. Hopefully it does. Hopefully you can see that. And can you now see it in presentation mode?
Perfect.
Wonderful. So I'm just recovering from a small cough. I've got a glass of water next to me here, but apologies if I start coughing halfway through. So my name's Abby. I'm coming to you today from Southwest Scotland, a region called Dumfries and Galloway. I co-run a collective called Propagate. Propagate does, we facilitate and organise and manage lots of different work around sustainable, resilient and local food systems. And as part of that work, I organise the Regenerative Farming Network. So I'm going to mainly focus on that as an example of how we've used digital tools to basically grow a network of farmers by accident rather than design. It's kind of been a very interesting evolutionary process. So here's a small potted history. We formed in 2021. It was a COP26 related project. At that time, there were various groups called the Fork to Farm dialogues that were happening across the world. And I was asked to facilitate a group in Southwest Scotland, pull farmers together to talk about agriculture and climate change. There were groups in Mexico, in Indonesia, in Ghana, in Belgium, all over the world. And all those groups had their own dialogues. And some of those farmers met up in Glasgow and in November of 2021 and at COP26 for a global dialogue. We started small, had a cluster of about 20 people, but we had a mailing group, obviously, to sort of let people know about the project. And by the end of 2021, we had about 80 people signed up and people wanted to carry on. So like, okay, let's carry on. So most of those 80 people were, as I say, farmers, growers and landowners in Dumfries and Galloway and Ayrshire, so our little southwest Scotland kind of pocket. But we kept that mailing list open and people could sign up, and they carried on signing up. I'll come more to that in a minute. We formed a soil health group in 2022, so that was, as the group, the bigger group got bigger, we wanted to kind of like bring it back to a smaller kind of focus group of people who wanted to do more sort of interconnected knowledge sharing. We won the Nature of Scotland Farming Awards in 2023, and we've attended lots of different events and conferences. This year, or just at the end of last year, we launched the new Farmer Cluster project, which is seeing 8 new knowledge sharing farmer clusters across the rest of Scotland. So Highland, East Lothian, the Borders, Argyll and Bute, each are kind of like having a new farmer knowledge sharing cluster. Is the page changing? Just to double check, the page has changed. Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
So that should now say, this is our mission statement. Last year we did a bit of kind of you know, who are we, what are we? We've kind of grown accidentally into this massive network of 350 now subscribers to that email group, to the newsletters. And so we kind of had a few focus groups with the farmers, and this is our kind of collective mission statement. We want farming in Scotland to be part of the solution to the climate and nature and public health crises. And we want farming to be profitable, sustainable, resilient, and nature friendly. So everything that we do is around that. So going back to 2021, how we got started, as I say, that it was part of the Fork to Farm dialogues, and that being the lockdown years, so resonating a little bit with the earlier presentation, we kind of mainly had Zoom meetings. Now, Zoom I've always found as a more accessible platform for farmers to use. People get really confused with Teams. It's very much more of a kind of a space that is used in kind of public sector, academic and work related contexts. But most farmers find Zoom a lot easier, so I tend to err towards Zoom. We had a succession of different meetings. Starting with this info session and brainstorm. So the image at the right there is a kind of word cloud of what people wanted to get out of the kind of learning sessions together. And we had these, you know, 4 different thematic meetings around farming and climate change, local supply chains, agroforestry and policy, with a couple of different speakers and some open discussion time. They were very well attended. We used a tool called Padlet, where we could record the answers and people could check in on that later on and add comments. So that kind of created a sort of discussion forum. We also had 2 in-person farm walks during that time, socially distanced outdoors, of course, but obviously we're focusing on digital tools for this presentation. So the main kind of purpose of those sessions, as well as to sort of get people's views and opinions and ideas and inspiration around these different topics, and to share that learning, was building trust and building community, and creating those spaces really helps to do that. I guess the mainstay of the Regen Farm network is this weekly email bulletin that I've mentioned a few times. So that now has over 350 subscribers. Originally I set that up on Google Groups, and it's an open group, so anybody can post. So it doesn't have to just be me sending out an email every Tuesday night, which is what I do. But anyone can share their own findings, their own events, their own thoughts. They can respond to the posts that I've put up. That happens occasionally, not very often. Usually it's just my weekly email bulletin, which I call the Regen Roundup, and it is a kind of harvest of links to different events, in-person and online events, videos, podcasts, research, reading, any way that people can learn and share knowledge towards more sustainable, more regenerative farming systems. We of course also use that as a way to promote our own events. So our farm clusters have got their launch in-person events coming up soon, and we'll have a whole program of farm walks, in-person farm walks, happening throughout the year. So those 350 subscribers started in mainly Dumfries and Galloway in southwest Scotland, and as I say, they're now coming at us from the rest of Scotland, so Highlands, East Lothian signing up. And it's because of that wider spread, that geographic kind of spread, that we've now split that back into 8 different clusters that people can join if they want to. They don't have to. So a little bit more about how those cluster groups work. Just wanted to put that in. That was our first kind of postcard that we put out across different areas to encourage people to join. Too wordy. It's a much more slimmed back version now, but you get the idea. We also, during those earlier years, created interesting social spaces online, and using film screenings is a really good way to do that. So you may have seen the Sacred Cow film. It's a really inspiring film from the States. Scottish Breed is about Galloway cattle, and In Our Hands is a film from the Land Workers Alliance here in the UK about food sovereignty. And that's a really nice way to have a kind of introduction chat. Everyone watches the film together in their own spaces, obviously, but from the comfort of your own living room. And then you come back into a Zoom space for a post-film discussion and sharing thoughts and ideas around that. I've not done that for a while, but it is a really nice thing to do, and especially during those kind of more sort of socially distanced COVID years, it was a good way to kind of create social spaces online. Mentioned the soil health group earlier. So in 2022, we invited people to join up with the soil health group. So this was and still is, a group of about 20-25 farmers in Dumfries and Galloway who wanted to share a more personalised learning journey together. So farmers who were trying out different practices on farm, maybe mob grazing, herbal lays, sort of more biodiversity kind of improvements and nature restoration. And obviously focusing on soil, because that's the sort of heart of regenerative practice. We had a subscription to this platform called Soil Mentor. Some of you might have used it. So Soil Mentor is it's a global platform. As a subscriber, you have your own profile. And the idea is, as a farmer, you go out into your fields and you GPS your location. You dig a hole, you do things like earthworm tests, looking at rhizos yeast, looking at the nodulation of legumes. You can upload that. There's an app, but there's also a desktop version. You can upload those results to the platform. We had a shared platform, so we were able to sort of benchmark against each other and see each other's results. The reality was that people didn't really use it. So people were very busy. The weather isn't always on our side. The timings were never quite right. People just, like, with the best will in the world, they had the best of intentions, but it wasn't very well used. So we ditched Soil Mentor as a platform after a year because it was costing £2,000. so mainly that WhatsApp, that soil health group now connects mainly via WhatsApp. So we have a very busy, active WhatsApp group, which keeps all connected on a day-to-day basis. And we don't just talk about soil, we talk about the weather, we talk about sheep, we talk about if anyone's got any hay spare, because that's a bit of a question at this time of year when everyone's running out of hay. And over the winter, we have, again, using Zoom, it's a really informal check-in space. So usually about 8 o'clock in the evening on a Thursday, here's the Zoom link, just jump on, come and have a chat. Whatever is sort of eating at you, whatever's been getting at you, whatever questions you've got. And as much as anything else, that's around sort of like mental health supports, because those sort of long winter nights can be quite dark, and farming can be quite lonely. So that group are now a group of very solid friends, and that's really important. Not just in a digital space, but in real life as well. So webinars, obviously an amazing way to share knowledge as part of the work that we've been doing with Anna through Soil Association Scotland, but also other colleagues like Land Workers Alliance, Nature Friendly Farming Network, and Pasture for Life. We've created a network called the Scottish Agroecology Partnership, and we had Scottish Government funding a few years back through the Knowledge Transfer Innovation Fund to promote knowledge sharing opportunities. So this was our first webinar, and we've carried on doing webinars since. I've got 2 coming up in the next few months. Yeah, and they're obviously a really good way to share knowledge. You have a couple of speakers, you have a whole bigger invited audience, and lots of space for discussion. I mean, it's very, very similar to what we're doing here today. I think just trying to create those spaces as informally as possible so everybody feels welcome is a big part of the challenge. I think comments like knowing your audience, having an idea of how many people are coming in, how are you going to facilitate that many folk in the space. We've had all those conversations today already, so I don't need to go into it, and I'm sure you're all quite well versed already. But yeah, expert speakers. They do also require budgets, expert speakers. So often they do anyway. So making sure you've got a budget to cover people's costs if that's what they need. Okay, just looking at the 2 different ways of kind of like that fast sort of social networking communication. I mentioned WhatsApp groups already, so this is just the screenshots from the Soil Health WhatsApp group, and you can see on the right there, you know, we're talk about lambing, and there was an ill cow as well. So lots of interesting conversations going on. I'm probably on about 10 farming related WhatsApp groups. There's the Regenerative Agriculture UK, Regen Women Folk, the Clydesdale Soil Health Network, and our Soil Health Southwest group here, as you can see. Yeah, they are really effective ways for communicating. Most farmers are on WhatsApp. It creates informal spaces where people can get to know each other, ask questions quickly, and get answers quickly. And quite often, literally from the barn, from the tractor, from the field, wherever they may happen to be. The only downside of that is those spaces can be super overwhelming. So we've had people join the Soil Health group, and after a couple of days, they've gone, I'm out of here. I can't keep up with the number of messages. So some people are serial posters, and maybe a little bit of admin required there, but generally speaking, not a lot. We also have a Facebook group for the Regenerative Farming Network. So that's that has about 800 members online. That does require more admin responsibilities, and yeah, it's good for kind of general sharing, but it doesn't tend to pop up in people's news feeds. So Facebook used to be a really good place to kind of create community using digital tools, but I find it less so now, I think. But yeah, it's still good to get the messages out there, and people can obviously share from that location to other groups and other places. So, but yeah, admin responsibility is required. What else? Yes, I guess as summing up, there are many different tools at our disposal. That different communication styles suit different people. So some people might just want that very passive. I get an email every Tuesday evening from Abby, and that's it. That's the extent of my involvement. Whereas other people really want that more in-depth connectivity and communication. In my experience, farmers just don't have the time to sort of sit in front of computers and sort of go on forums and use different platforms. And there's so many different platforms, and they're just not as well used as they could be, or maybe should be. Mainly because of time, but also because tech skills. Lots of farmers that I work with just don't have the tech skills. So yeah, different sort of situations will suit different people at different times. I mean, I guess consistency is important. As I said, we've started this project accidentally in 2021, and we've just kept at it. It just kept going, and it's been, you know, it's not even perseverance, because it hasn't been that difficult, but just like having the same sort of methods of getting through to people. And when I see people in real life at conferences or farm walks, folk say to me things like, your Tuesday email is amazing, your newsletter is the only newsletter I read. They love the way it's written. It's simple, it doesn't have any pictures, it's not on MailChimp, it's just an email. It's very personable. And yeah, quite like to keep it that way. But all of that said, actually getting out into the field and doing things like this, you know, getting your hands in the soil and counting worms and looking at soil structure and hanging out with other farmers is always the best way to do it. And I think that sort of relates to the earlier presentation around AI. These tools are all useful, but ultimately get out in the field. And I'll stop there.
Thanks so much, Abby. That was really very practical, very useful, very happy, and very full of sort of like heart as well. So that's really cool. I know that we're almost on the time, so I really appreciate that you've done it on this. But I just wanted to ask you mention it because I think it's really interesting about your group. Not everyone is young and still they engage with technology. So I thought that was worth highlighting. And if you have a short comment about it, because I know that some of us assume that people that are older will not engage in technological endeavors. And I think that you've proved them wrong, especially with Evie.
Yeah, I think WhatsApp is probably universally adapted it's intergenerational. WhatsApp's intergenerational. I'll tell you what we do have is some people that refuse to use things like WhatsApp and Google, things like that. It's like and that's actually coming from an older generation who are maybe slightly more radical and sort of political. So emails, it does sort of suit better for some folk who are older, but yeah, I think WhatsApp's fairly intergenerational.
So there you go, people. Know your audience, think of what you can do. Thank you so much, everyone. Marie, I'm gonna leave the floor to you because I see that you threw the poll on, and then we can have a few final words. But Abby, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for everyone. And we have 1 more minute for comments on or questions to any of the speakers or the forum. So just answer the poll in the same time. So don't bother more than that on that one. So we just want to know how you thought about the event and what your wishes are in the future. But if there's any other questions, comments, feel free.
Just a reminder for everyone that basically picking on what Abby was mentioning there, it's we're trying to create this whole thing where you have in-person live. So keep an eye on our website, both for modernAKIS and ATTRACTISS events, because this combo of in-person, on time, on different things, it's actually going to be sort of like happening all the time. And I guess that they strengthen each other. It's not one or, it's about bringing all together and trying to find something that works for everyone.
Yeah, and actually the next WoW is already getting its form and the content together. So it will be 18th. Let me double check. 18th of next month, February, and the same time, of course. And we will talk about the innovation ecosystems on the examples from also other sectors, how we could learn from other sectors than agriculture on the innovation networks and how they work and how they keep existing. So stay tuned with that one. I think that's all.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. We hope to continue these conversations online. We'll be sending a follow-up email with a lot of the links so that you can explore them. Abby's links, AKIS links, the forum link, everything. So don't worry if you weren't paying attention. Thank you to everyone for being so active in the chat as well. There's so many interesting conversations that actually we can take into the forum. And thank you to the amazing Maria and Krista who organized everything, and Elizabeth and Stephanie who organized everything. Just a dream team. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Bye.
amazing
Bye.
Thank you for
speakers.
the invitation.
Thank you.
Bye.